Members, I have received notice from the Minister of Education that he wishes to make a statement. Before I call the Minister, I remind members that they must be concise in asking their questions. This is not an opportunity for debate, and long introductions will not be allowed. Minister.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. In compliance with Section 52 of the Northern Ireland Act 1998, I wish to make the following statement on the meeting of the North-South Ministerial Council in the education sector that was held on Wednesday, the 22nd of May of this year. The meeting took place in the Department of Education's Marlborough Street offices in Dublin. It was chaired by Norma Foley, TD, the Minister of Education for the Republic of Ireland. I attended the meeting along with Caoimhe Archibald, Minister of Finance, attending as the accompanying Minister, and Hildegard Naughton, TD, Minister of State at the Department of the Taoiseachs. Caoimhe Archibald, Minister of Finance, has agreed this statement and for me to make it on her behalf. The meeting was cordial, it was productive, and progress was made on a number of key issues, including the review of the work programme, special educational needs, school, youth and teacher exchanges, cooperation between education inspectorates, educational underachievement, addressing climate change and loss of biodiversity within the education sector. The Council did note that officials from both administrations have conducted a review of the work programme for the NSMC education sector. Ministers noted the outcome of the review and agreed the revised work programme for the education sector. Middleton Centre for Autism, the Chief Executive Stephen Duthert and Vice Chair Rosemary Steen provided ministers with an overview of the work of the centre. Ministers welcomed the overall achievements of MCA since 2021 and commended the valuable contribution its range of services has made to the education of children with autism and young people in both jurisdictions. Ministers welcomed the new MCA CEO Stephen Duthert and the new MCA Chair Sheila Darling. They thanked Jim Lennon, the previous interim CEO, and Rosemary Steen, the previous Chair, for their work to support Middleton. The Council noted the work being carried out by both departments and the MCA to develop, extend and to enhance the services of the centre across the island. Ministers welcomed that both departments and MCA are scoping the potential for expansion of the services at Middleton to meet the emergent needs across both jurisdictions. The Council noted the activity on pupil, youth, student and teacher exchanges on a north-south basis and the valuable experience this has provided to those involved. Ministers welcomed the approval of funding under Peace Plus programme under the Shared Learning Together heading, including for the North-South School civic exchanges and under the youth mental health and wellbeing area. Ministers welcomed the proposals made by the two education departments and the Mary Immaculate College in Limerick to extend development and delivery of the Teacher Research Exchange TREX across both jurisdictions. The Council noted the work undertaken by the North-South Education and Training Standards Committee on endorsing undergraduate and postgraduate youth programmes. The Council noted the work of the North-South Youth Sector Practice Development Hub in strengthening and developing sustainable North-South youth work sector relationships and enhancing the quality of the learning experience of young people participating in youth services across the island. Ministers also welcomed the continuing collaborative work of the two education inspectorates and noted the update on the inspection cooperation and engagement since 2021. Ministers agreed that respective inspectorates, along with their commissioning departments, explore potential for funding to enable either or both inspectorates to be commissioned as the evaluators of choice or the preferred evaluators, and to provide a complete monitoring quality assurance evaluation service to relevant projects and programmes. Ministers welcomed the agreement in principle to commence a pilot cooperation programme in 2024 and 2025 to address educational disadvantage, supported by an allocation of €24 million from the Government of Ireland's Shared Island Fund, that's around £20 million sterling. Ministers agreed that updates on this programme will be provided at future meetings. Ministers also welcomed the focus on addressing educational disadvantage, including the design of the new Peace Plus Shared Learning Together programme, related calls for which were published in 2023, and welcomed the recent positive funding announcements that are worth €13.3 million, which have been made to date in respect of the Peace Plus Shared Learning Together programme. The Council also noted that climate change obligations in place within both jurisdictions. Ministers confirmed the Council's commitment to ongoing collaboration between jurisdictions involving curriculum development, shared teacher professional learning opportunities and shared resources that emphasise sustainability and environmental stewardship. Ministers agreed this collaboration could extend to sharing knowledge and experience on improvements in the school estate and the transportation fleet. So in closing, my officials and I look forward to continuing to work in the education sector.
I call on Matthew O'Toole.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, I welcome the statement. I note on educational underachievement, the pilot cooperation programme is due to begin in 24 and 2025 with 24 million from the Irish Government's shared island unit, and further details will be provided in due course. But with respect, we are in 2024 already. When do you expect to be able to come forward with more detail for how this is going to be deployed on a cross-border basis, and how schools on the northern side of the border and indeed the sector can engage with this fund?
Well, the funding is exclusive for Northern Ireland, and I provided a written ministerial statement which provided the detail. I've already announced it. It was launched last week, and the details are contained within that. We're standing the programme up. There will be programme boards in every council area, and I would just refer the member to the written ministerial statement for that answer.
Colin Patchin.
And I welcome the positive engagement that's taking place on the all-island basis, particularly around education. And tackling educational underachievement has to be a priority. I wonder if the Minister had any discussions with his southern counterparts in regard to the Daesh school model, and whether he believes it could be a template to use here in the north to tackle educational disadvantage.
Thank you, and Deputy Speaker, and thank the member for the comments. Where there is learning that can be gained from either jurisdiction, I think that's what we need to make sure we share that. So where there's opportunity to look at the educational underachievement, disadvantage, then I'm very much up for doing that. The programme that we announced last week is significant in terms of building on what was within Fair Start. The criteria and the outworkings of that we will continue now to develop now that we've officially announced this programme, and that will make a very real impact. It's about a whole community response, so it isn't just with the school, it's also with other organisations, and that could be church, it could be youth organisations. This is about supporting parents as well, and it is something that I'm pleased to be able to roll out, but the exact details of how that will operate will partly be for the programme boards in each area to work that through as to how we make sure this makes the kind of impact. But where we can learn from other jurisdictions, we should do so.
Thank you. Can I call on David Brooks, please?
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I welcome the Minister's focus on educational disadvantage and underattainment, and I know he's planning to visit Eastside Learning in my constituency, which does so much great work in this area. Could the Minister provide any further details in the way in which relevant organisations would go about applying for or engaging with this programme?
So obviously the primary focus is around educational underachievement, and then there's also an element to do with the teacher transfer T-Rex that I talked about, and within this scheme there's also what's called BLAST, which is around a creative industry type approach as well. So those creative arts, the performing arts which take place within schools, how can we increase all of that? So the scheme is being taken forward now. Every local government area will have somewhere where there is a scheme. There's 15 specific areas. Belfast is covered in every parliamentary constituency in that respect, and East Belfast is included. And I look forward to meeting with the side organisation in due course to see how can they be part of the programmes that we want to take forward within the East Belfast constituency.
Thank you very much. And just before I call Robbie Butler, I just want to say that the members who came in late will be called after the other members, so just don't think that you're just being excluded for any particular reason, but you will be called. Robbie.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Thank the Minister for his very welcome update. In regard, Minister, to the Peace Plus funds for shared learning together in that cross-border element, could you give us a bit more detail on that, and also give us an update in terms of the quantum of the money available for shared education projects in Northern Ireland as well?
So obviously the elements of Peace Plus funding that we continue to take forward as part of the Department of Education, the key one is this reducing educational disadvantage. It's called the RAISE programme. That's now what we're calling it. That's about raising achievement for the individual, for the school and communities. So this is really going to build upon what was contained in Fair Start and has been welcomed by those that were involved in that programme. So that is one of the key funding issues that we've been getting support from. And I mentioned Middleton in the statement, which is a centre of excellence, and that is providing support in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. And what more could Middleton be doing, particularly around special needs and supporting other schools. So there's real opportunity, I think, in this area, and it's one where if we can do that across both countries, it's something that we should be doing.
Thank you. And can I call on Cathy Mason, please?
It's very welcome that the Minister is engaging so positively with his counterparts in the South, and especially the announcement around the Shared Island funding. I am concerned, though, that nowhere in South Down has been included in the RAISE programme. So can I ask the Minister what criteria was used to inform decisions around locations for the project?
Obviously, the criteria that was used is there. It'll be robust in terms of questions around what areas were included. There's 15 areas in Northern Ireland, and we wanted to make sure that there was a geographical spread, and every local government authority does and is included. That may not extend to every single parliamentary constituency in Northern Ireland, but there is a geographical spread. Educational underachievement is the key measurement in terms of identifying areas that need the greatest support, because this programme is targeted at reducing educational underachievement. But obviously, when it came to the number of areas to be identified and taken forward, there was a criteria, and there has to be a cut-off point, and not everywhere will benefit from this. But I ensured that every part of Northern Ireland did have schemes within communities, and every local authority will be involved.
Call on Jim Allister.
Minister, on these North-South programmes, I read in this statement about common work programmes, about teacher and pupil exchanges, about pilot programmes, about collaboration on inspectorates, funded programmes. And then when one looks at East-West, one finds in your pretty threadbare Safeguarding the Union document two lines that talks about twinning arrangements between schools in Northern Ireland and GB. Not much of a match, is it, Minister?
Speaker, the member I know will welcome and be pleased that I have been engaging East-West. Up until the general election being called, I had met with the UK Secretary of State for Education, Gillian Keegan. I had engaged with her and the Schools Minister as well. And indeed, before the election was called, there would have been a meeting of the Scottish, Welsh, English and myself, Ministers of Education, that I was hosting here in Northern Ireland. Because the member is right, we need to learn from all of those jurisdictions that can help and assist the children here in Northern Ireland. So where I can get information, where that's in the Republic of Ireland, I absolutely will do that. Equally, I want to make sure that we are supported in developing in our education system across from Great Britain. So I have been engaging in that, and I know the member will welcome my engagements on the East-West dimension.
Thank you very much indeed. I call on Colin McGrath.
Speaker, and can I welcome the appointment of Sheila Darling as the chair of the Middleton Centre. I worked with her as a Board of Governors where she was the principal, and I know that she will deliver and help support an expert service there. But could I ask about the North-South Youth Exchange programmes? Will there be some specific support for groups to help them to be able to participate in them? Having delivered programmes for 10 years on that front, I know that it is a very beneficial programme for both communities here in the North and in the South.
Well, Deputy Speaker, let me just give a more detailed answer to the member when he asks about what is the support that is available for exchanges, because where there is best practice, shared learning, shared experiences, those are all things that are to the benefit of everybody who is involved in them. But I'll write to the member specifically around what kind of support there is when it comes to youth engagement.
Thank you. I call on Nick Matheson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his statement, and it's certainly a welcome announcement. The Minister will be aware that all research into best practice around these place-based interventions is that they work best when there is collaboration between departments and the community and voluntary sector. How will the Minister ensure that he collaborates with executive colleagues and the community and voluntary sector, other sources of funding, to ensure this has maximum impact?
Well, the chairman of the committee raises an important point around the collaboration within the executive and departments. That's something that we have been doing in terms of getting the support from executive colleagues. And these programme boards, as they are stood up, they take a whole community approach. And so we need to make sure that key stakeholders and different departments are involved in that, because this isn't solely education. Making sure that we provide support in communities around education also has benefits for health, criminal justice system, particularly where we're working in areas of disadvantage. So this announcement, which was announced last week, it didn't get covered. It potentially will get covered now, having given air to the issue, is a very significant announcement of £20 million programmes that will be established across Northern Ireland, and that will benefit people, particularly where there's educational underachievement and disadvantage taking place in our communities across Northern Ireland, and I think that's something to be welcomed.
Call on Kate Nicholl.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. The Minister will be aware of the alarming figures in relation to school attendance, and I'm curious about how the RAISE programme will address attendance rates. Thank you.
Mr Deputy Speaker, absenteeism levels, particularly after COVID, has been a challenge across every sector. Part of the reasons why it's important we keep schools open, because the level of absenteeism now is at its highest level than it has been from pre-COVID, and has got worse after COVID because of lockdown measures that were put in place. So that is something that concerns me around absenteeism levels. We're trying to work to address that, but we are living with a legacy of not having schools open. So we need to make sure that we can keep our schools open. Part of the reason why I welcomed the industrial action being suspended is we were able to keep schools open today, which is vitally important, particularly for those children that were in our special schools, our most vulnerable, to make sure that they can stay open, and hopefully I'll have more to say on that when I get to question time later this afternoon. But we do need to address absenteeisms, and schools principals are doing incredible work. Some are going to the houses, they're driving their own vehicles, they're trying to find out how can we help children to come to school. But it is particularly acute in where there is disadvantage. And that's why this reducing educational underachievement, the RAISE programme, I think is also going to have a benefit with a whole community response to get people into school. If you're not in school, you're not getting educated, or if you're not in the right setting, and what other settings are there that can be useful to try and encourage young people to get engaged in educational programmes.
I call on Danny Baker.
And I would like to thank the Minister for his statement and the continued positive working relationship between the North and South Education Departments. Can I ask the Minister how exactly children with special educational needs will benefit from the introduction of this RAISE programme?
Well, Deputy Speaker, where these programmes are operating in those communities, all of the schools will be able to participate in that, some to varying different degrees. So let's get the programme boards set up. There'll be a coordinator appointed within each area, and that will be an important role. And then that will be co-designed within communities. We believe there are templates that can be followed, but ultimately we need local communities to take some ownership of this so they can be part of it, because it is a whole community response to it. And there won't be, in that respect, if a scheme is operating in an area, then all of the school settings should be able to participate in that.
Thank you very much. Can I call on Sinead Ennis, please?
Given the budgetary challenges we face due to the persistent underfunding of our public services by successive British governments, does the Minister expect that there will be other opportunities for additional funding through the Shared Island Unit to help support the education system and its priorities?
Well, Deputy Speaker, obviously we are significantly funded through the Treasury as a part of Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, something that I welcome. But could we have more? Yes, we could. We're making the case, and ministerial colleagues have made that case to the Treasury, and we had that interim fiscal framework, and that has helped in terms of additional funding. I still, as Minister, need to get on with the job within the resources that I have available to me, and challenging as that is. It will be difficult, but where there can be additional sources of funding that will benefit the children and young people of Northern Ireland, then we should be availing of that. And if that's, in this case, shared island funding, then let's take the shared island funding. The Republic of Ireland government did not ask for any strings attached with this. They did not ask to be part of the design of this programme. That was left entirely to the Department of Education and this government to do that. And if they're able to support it, then I welcome that. If there's opportunities for further support, both from the Republic of Ireland and also by seeking to get the proper funding formula in place within the United Kingdom context, then we need to do that and make sure we properly resource our public services.
Thank you very much indeed. And I note Justin McNulty coming in, but unfortunately you weren't here for most of the statement and the rest of it, and I don't think it would be fair to call you at that point. Members, that concludes questions to the Minister for Education. By leave of the Assembly, I will be suspending the sitting for approximately 15 minutes until 10:30.